Remember the movie Big Trouble in Little China? Of course, we all do. Everybody loves it. Or at least everybody should. Kurt Russell, great overall cast, directed by John Carpenter, one of the funnest movies of all time. Did you know that originally it was going to be a Western? Then it went through this total revamp. Carpenter had always wanted to make a martial arts film. Once he was brought in, that gave him the opportunity, and they had to rush this. The studio really pushed its pace because they wanted to get it out before Eddie Murphy's The Golden Child, which was another Eastern martial arts comedy fantasy type film. Luckily, it all worked out, at least in my opinion, and a cult classic was born. Well, I'm sure you remember at the start of the movie, there's a big street battle, and in it, 3 very notable villains make an appearance, and of course, they show up throughout the rest of the movie. And they are, yes, the Storms. The 3 Storms. And when they first show up, they're very notable for their killer look. They all have the same cloak and hat, different clothes, costumes, what have you, underneath, and they each fight with a distinct weapon. Not here in this opening scene. When they show up, funny enough, they all pull out kukris and use them in an opening move. The movie was not really concerned with exactness when it comes to martial arts specificity and authenticity. But anyway, with the exception of the kukris, yeah, they're each armed differently and very distinctively. And importantly, they are complete badasses. The 3 of them just tear through a group of opponents. But anyway, in this martial arts blender of a kung fu film, what was the inspiration for the Storms? Well, this is kind of a kung fu flick, but it actually goes back to Japanese popular entertainment. Here are the 3 actors together a couple of times over the years. How cool is that? And when it comes to Japanese martial arts and entertainment, one of the biggest series of all time is this one here, Wolf and Cub. The hugely influential samurai tale about the assassin and his son traveling across feudal Japan and killing people for money, the father being the shogun's former executioner turned assassin. Yeah, this Ronin tale is one of the big ones. It was so popular, it even birthed the TV/movie trope of the badass traveling with and protecting a small child. TVtropes.org says this is the earliest known example of what they call the badass and child duo or badass and baby trope. Any movie fan can easily think of multiple examples of this, including this one here, Road to Perdition. But enough about the far-reaching shadow of Lone Wolf and Cub, at least overall. Suffice it to say, a lot of people, including in the West, saw the TV show and movies and were impressed. But it was originally a manga, and one that ran for quite some time, as you can see. I am reading the first installment of this epic series as we speak, and that's where I tripped over the inspiration for the trio of Lopan's henchmen in Big Trouble in Little China. And I don't think that there's any doubt that this here, of course this is a reproduction of the original from 1970, the movie's from the early 70s, by the way, movies and television show. In this repro, which is fantastic, Chapter 15, The Flute of the Fallen Tiger, starts right off with a wonderful image of a ship and then 3 brothers who look very familiar. Of course, being a child of the 70s and 80s, I thought of Big Trouble in Little China the second I saw them, but there's more. They make their entrance and immediately kick ass amongst a large group of opponents. And there's even more because they each fight with a very distinctive weapon, one of which is a claw, as you can see right there. And I think that's what really cinches it. The 3 brothers, and they are brothers in the manga, they're not armed exactly like their equivalents from the movie. There's the claw, then another guy uses a tetsubo, an iron club, and the other one just uses a sword. But these guys were definitely in the screen adaptation of the manga, and that is surely where Carpenter, or maybe somebody else involved in the film, got the idea for those 3 characters. And of course they don't have any of the superpowers or elemental powers that the Storms had in the movie. Here they are from the screen adaptation, or one of them, in a scene right out of the manga. So 1970 Japanese samurai tale in a manga, adapted onto the screen in the early 70s, and one tiny little piece of that Japanese martial arts popular entertainment ends up transformed in an action, fantasy, comedy, kung fu, and therefore Chinese American movie. And if you did not know, now you do. Thanks.